When you think about growing as a Christian, what sort of activities do you think about? Maybe you think about reading your Bible or spending time in prayer. Maybe you're thinking about reading Christian books or learning more theology, or repenting, turning from sinful patterns and pursuing obedience through faith. And while all of those are certainly absolutely essential components to growing as a Christian, when you think about all of those activities, they are often pretty individualistic. Well, as we've seen in our last videos, one of the main aims of Paul as he writes his letter to the Colossians is that they would be mature, that they would grow up in their Christian faith, that they would pursue becoming more and more like Christ, that they would pursue being sanctified. And we saw that our pursuit of sanctification, our pursuit of holiness, is actually pursuing, knowing, and loving the person of Jesus. And then we saw that our pursuit of sanctification is a journey. It's the pursuit of progress, not perfection. We will continually be repenting our entire lives. Well, in this video, we're going to see that God designed us to be sanctified in community. Sanctification is a personal obligation, but it happens in community. So listen to this beautiful picture Paul gives of the church in the first two verses of Colossians chapter 2. For I want you to know how great a struggle I have for you, and for those at Laodicea, and for all who have not seen me face to face, that their hearts may be encouraged, being knit together in love. Together, they would reach all the riches of the knowledge of Christ. A few verses later, you'll see that he criticizes those who emphasize the need for these highly individualistic, mystical religious experiences, which would have been divisive to the community. So he writes in verse 19 that those people are actually disconnected from Christ, from whom the whole body, here it is again, nourished and knit together through its joints and ligaments, grows with a growth that is from God. So here's the description of how growth happens here. He says the source of growth is God through Christ, and it happens corporately as we are nourished and knit together. This is the way God has designed his people to grow in sanctification. God has designed us to grow. If you think about the clear implication from Paul, what Paul says here is that we won't really grow without a vibrant connection to Christ's local body, the church. We need each other to grow. We grow in sanctification as we walk together in a mutual interdependence. But this can be difficult because typically we don't like depending on others. We like to be in control. We want to be independent. Or we don't want to get too close to our community because we don't want to let others in. We don't want others to see our messes. Or we're afraid of being hurt or disappointed or let down again. Which, since the church is full of sinners saved by grace, but they're not perfect yet. They are being sanctified. we will still let each other down. But it's in this context of imperfect but growing body of believers that God intends to sanctify us. We do need to be in the Word. We do need to be praying on our own. We do need to be continually repenting, turning from our sin, turning to Jesus. But if we're only doing those things disconnected from the church, our growth will be severely stunted at best. Listen to how Paul describes this growing in community process in chapter 3. This is verse 16. He says, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you," which is a plural you there. "Let the word of Christ dwell in you all, richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God." Gathering with the saints is an essential part of our sanctification. And whether that's in official gatherings on Sunday or small groups or Bible studies or just informal hanging out, we need each other to be teaching each other, to be admonishing each other, to be pointing each other to the gospel, to be rejoicing in God's goodness together, to be bearing one another's burdens. So as you seek sanctification, as you seek to grow to look more and more like Jesus, how much are you looking to your community as an essential means by which God intends to sanctify you? So here's my challenge, my encouragement for you. I want to encourage you to lean into your community with its flaws, imperfections, and shortcomings, but lean into your community as a means of God's sanctifying grace in your life.